Anyway, next game, Bengals at the Steelers. This line was -8, I think. And then it was taken off the board because we don't know if Ben Roethlisberger is going to play. Assuming this line is 8 and Roethlisberger plays, who do you like in this game? And also, if Roethlisberger misses this game, like, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm assuming Roethlisberger is going to play, so it'll be a -8 line. At that price, I definitely like the Bengals. If Roethlisberger doesn't play, I don't know exactly where this line would go to. I imagine it would probably be in the 4 or 5 range, maybe a little bit lower. Depends on what people think of Mason Rudolph. I don't think he's that much, so I would be on the Bengals in that circumstance as well. But I just think that this line is too high. I mean, Joe Burrow has lost by more than one possession just once in his career. And the Steelers are like slightly overrated at this point. Granted, they're undefeated and they've played very well this year. And I think that they're going to be a legitimate contender come the playoffs, but they do have their share of issues. First of all, Big Ben is dealing with injuries to both of his knees, not just one, both of his knees, suffered last game. So we don't know how that's going to impact him. And given that he has to isolate because of the COVID issues he's having, we don't know when we'll see him at practice. So we're not going to get a good look at him and really know what he's doing. And we saw Matthew Stafford last week basically have to be isolated until game day. And then he struggled before he got hurt too. So I think the same could happen for Big Ben. And then defensively, the Steelers defense, they're really good at times, but they also give up a lot of yardage this year, especially to receivers. And we saw it last week against the Cowboys. Granted, they may not have been focused, but Garrett Gilbert ran for like 20 yards on them at one point, and that just shouldn't happen ever in any circumstance. So I think the Bengals are going to be able to cover this spread. I am a little worried about Joe Burrow playing behind and a demolished offensive line against a really good pass rush, just because he's at his worst when he's taking sacks and is under pressure. But I still think that 8's too high. And if all goes well and they work the quick passing game, Burrow has enough weapons to cover an 8-point spread. So I'll be on the Bengals for a couple units in that case, depending on how confident I am in the offensive line there.
Yeah, so I was under the impression that the Bengals are going to get back a lot of their linemen this week. They just came off a bye, and not except for one of their starting linemen, like none of them were on the injured reserve list. So it feels like they should, at least a few of them should return. Like Jonah Williams should come back, like Bobby Hart. So if those two guys come back to combat the edge rushers, I feel like the Bengals have a good chance. Not just to cover it, but to win outright. I think someone said Bengals money line, and I think that's definitely a possibility here. The Steelers just almost lost to the Cowboys. Like, I know they weren't focused in that game, but like, how focused are they going to be in this game when they're nearly favored by double digits? Like, I just don't really see it. And I think you're a little like right in saying the Steelers are overrated. It's not saying they're a bad team by any means. Like, they're obviously a great team, like the top 5 team, but I don't know. They almost lose to Dallas. Like, they almost lose to Tennessee. By the way, the Bengals just beat by more than. And, I know they beat the Ravens, but the Ravens had so many turnovers in that game, and they lost Ronnie Stanley in that game. And so it was just like a mess for Baltimore. I feel like if they played that game again and Stanley didn't get hurt, I think the Ravens would have won that game. So I do think the Steelers are a little overrated. Like, I feel like this line should be like around 6 or so, which is like kind of makes sense if you look at all of Joe Burrow's results. Like, all of them, as you said, by a single score except for one game, actually by 5 or fewer points except for one game. So I think that the Bengals should be able to hang tough. Like, they've gotten some defensive players back from injury. William Jackson came back last week from injury, or last week, the week before the bye from injury. Mike Daniels came back too. So it was like the first time Daniels and Geno Atkins played for the first time all year together. So, yeah, I think the Bengals are better than people think they are. And I think the Steelers, while still great, aren't as amazing as people think they are. So I think the Bengals should be able to cover the spread. I like the Bengals quite a bit, actually. It's probably going to be like 3 units or so.
Yeah, I could be convinced to up my unit count too. Again, it depends on the offensive line and what's going on there. But I also think that the Bengals might win outright. Like, I don't think that that's crazy, because we see this with undefeated teams. They beat a really good team or one of their top rivals. So when the Steelers beat the Ravens, then you're looking down the rest of their schedule and it's like, oh, Cowboys, Bengals, Jaguars. Oh, we got these next 3 games. And then we get to take on Baltimore again and we'll have a chance to be 12-0. So they kind of overlook these guys. And that's when they tend to lose. It's not always against a great opponent. It's sometimes one of the games you don't expect. And I think that the Bengals could easily be that type of team that goes for a massive upset here and pulls it off.
Yeah. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention is Roethlisberger, like not just his knees, but like he's holding his elbow like all the time, and like it just seems to be getting worse. And like he wasn't very good against the Cowboys. Like the Steelers really got bailed out by some penalties. Like if it wasn't for some of those defensive penalties on the final drive, the Cowboys would have pulled the upset, and then everyone still alive and Survivor would have lost. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't think this team right now could beat the Bengals by double digits, but we'll see.